Allora, a tutti voi amici piloti italiani della Audi 90 GTO IMSA, in bocca al lupo per il campionato Kamel GT. Fatevi onore, date gas e tenete alto l'onore della mia Audi Racing preferita di sempre, l'Audi 90 IMSA GTO. Ciao e in bocca al lupo, tenete giù.
Best greetings to all drivers from the Audi GTO 90 Championship. Good success.
Last week saw two drivers find redemption in the first round. Jamie Hull in the prototypes kicked things off with an emphatic win, while Michael Houghton in the GTOs ended an all-too-long dry spell. But Road America is a very different track from Imola. This Italian circuit is known for its twisty and chicane-laden layout. This could make traffic a frustrating prospect. We'll see if either winner can carry their momentum as we get ready to watch round 2 of the iRacing Kamel GT series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Imola will get to host Formula One once again after being away for more than a decade. In case some viewers have yet to be introduced, let's head to our track guide to learn a little bit more. Welcome to the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari, but most race fans know this place as simply Imola. This circuit in the northern part of Italy has seen some of the highest highs and lowest lows in motorsports history. The various tragedies that have marred the track left no choice but to alter it in the name of safety. While it originally featured mostly fast, sweeping corners, its modern 3-mile or 5-kilometer version is punctuated by tricky chicanes and incredibly technical turns. iRacing includes the Grand Prix layout and a moto version, which adds one more chicane to the front stretch. Tamburello is perhaps the most notorious of the corners for claiming the life of multi-time world champion Ayrton Senna when it was still a single breathtaking turn. Now the Triple Apexer not only offers potential passing opportunities, but catches out drivers quite frequently. While heavy braking zones are everywhere, because few places allow the cars to get up to speed, overtaking is generally seen as an exercise in frustration. As if to almost counteract this quality, the track itself is situated in a gorgeous public park and sends the drivers through the beautifully calming Italian countryside. It also includes a fair bit of elevation change in which the track is split between the higher up back half and the lower first portion. It's no wonder that this place still proves popular with drivers and fans in spite of its difficulties in history. The Tifosi keep returning each and every time the sound of engines roar among the trees, and who can blame them? Even in the sim, this is a very pretty place to race. But Adam, we're not so worried about the scenery as we are the racing on the track. Why don't you tell us about that track a little bit more?
Absolutely, Joe. The Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari is one of the legendary Formula One tracks of the past that has found its way back on their calendar for 2020. The Kamel Series, however, has been visiting this 3-mile or 4.9-kilometer 17-turn circuit for many seasons. With its historic F1 heritage, you would be right in assuming this track favors the Nissan GTP, but not to the extent that you would expect. The Nissan may be faster through the changing elevation and sweeping corners, but the Audi is often faster out of the tighter sections and can even beat the Nissan in speed down the long front straight if they have a draft. While the Nissan may feel comfortable around here, however, the Audi definitely does not. The changes in elevation are often accompanied by hard or technical braking zones, and the Audi is prone to either locking up its front tires or swinging the back end around under hard braking. passing around Imola is difficult too, requiring a mistake from the driver ahead, or a KG maneuver or on the braking job to get it done, even with such a long front straight. Multi-class here is an absolute nightmare because the classes are relatively even on pace, and the Nissans are going to try desperately to get by, but the Audis are going to try desperately to keep them behind. I'm expecting quite a few coming together today, Joe, especially with such a large field size.
Yeah, thankfully not quite as big as we saw last time, but still enough that it's going to be a little congested out there, we expect. Let's take a look at the championships after one round done. And right now, we've got Fabian Gerber with 3 points over Sai Andra. Nick Mukanos just 5 points back from that. Of course, being the first round done, it's all very tight. Tobias Gerber and Laust Olsen rounding things out among our top 5. What about the GTO standings?
Yeah, GTO standings are interesting because Michael Houghton took the win last week over Yuko Leskala. Phil Lake comes home in the, well, actually, Yuko actually wrecked out of that race, so he's further down the field. Phil Lake came in second even after spitting out early in the race, so he actually is in second place in the points championship and didn't lose that many points last round. Franco Scurry got a great third place and is now up in third, with Jeff Tyler and Roman Pawlowski, who switched over to the Audi this season, rounding out your top 5.
Of course, if we have viewers who have not watched this series before, here's our race details for today. It is a 40-minute race, so it's their sprint format. It is an open setup in this series. Now, thankfully, the drivers are pretty open about sharing those setups amongst each other. They don't have a fast repair, though, and that could come into play. We'll talk about some of the curbs that are around here that could play havoc with the cars and cause damage. And there you see the penalties that will be accrued if they rack up too many incident points. And right now we're waiting for some qualifying times to get in. So before those get on the board, we want to remind you, if you're looking to take advantage of GSRC's over 1 million global monthly impressions, from official series sponsorships to commercial placements, we have advertising options customizable to suit your company's needs. Follow the link in the description below to learn more about how you can advertise here on GSRC. A small correction on our scores as well. Jamie Hall is actually currently leading the prototype championship. Gerber is in second right now on that one. So speaking of Fabian, though, he has taken the provisional pole in those prototypes over Nick Mukanos as we get more times in. Phil Lake, though, picking up where he left off and continuing this incredible speed he's had since last season.
Yeah, Phil, very strong around here. He seems to be able to understand this track and its difficult braking zones for the Audis. So we see him coming around for his second lap. I mean, you can see they really maximize the complete extent of this course in the Audi, using all of the curves, using all of the road, all the way up to the grass. And that's where you might see some mistakes, is some drivers clipping the grass today on braking. That can send these drivers all the way off and into the barriers through the gravel traps sometimes with these Audis. So they are really using the entire track. And that's why multi-class is so hard, because the Nissans are going to try and get past these guys when they need to use the entire track from left to right to just make it around this course at a competitive time.
So we're still waiting for Jamie Hall to actually put the time in. So Fabian Gerber's just getting his second lap, and it's not going to be quicker, about 2/10 slower for him. Taking a look at Phil Lake now, who's coming down towards Ravata. Leskala has outpaced him, and Phil must have made a mistake because he is going slow. So that's it for him. What about Michael Houghton, our winner out in Wisconsin? He's currently sitting in third, and it's looking good. It's a 140 flat for him, which is not too far off of our pole sitter. So to the line, what has he got? Can he improve and get himself on the front row? It's a 39.6. That's 4/10 faster, and that's good enough for second.
I was keeping an eye on Michael Houghton's stream earlier this week, and he was talking about how he needed to stay ahead of Phil if he had any chance of beating him, because Phil, he said, is on average 2/10 faster than him on pace. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not Michael can keep that spot over Phil Lake as the race goes on, especially with Yuko leading them to the first corner.
Well, Yuko is still on pole, but he can extend this gap, and are still a few fast drivers that could overtake him. He does indeed. Another 3/10 quicker. Leskala responds. Reed Miller is the next likely one, as he's currently in fourth, and he goes faster, but he does not improve his position.
And Jamie Hall crosses the line. He goes second fastest in the Nissans, but he's currently around 7/10 off of Fabian Gerber, so he's going to have to put in a stonking second lap in order to try and take over that top spot from Fabian.
Let's not discount Alex Millward, who's currently in third. He's done with his qualifying, so that's it for him today. Looking of the ones that are still out there running in the prototypes, I think Jamie Hall is the only one with a decent opportunity. Krejcik, as he takes his second lap, goes slightly faster, but he will stay in 11th.
Hove Traingrade has an opportunity to jump Nicholas Schneider on this lap. He's only 15 thousandths behind, so as he crosses the line, let's see whether this lap's any faster. Doesn't look like it is. Looks like he made a mistake as he's 8 seconds off his best time.
Yeah, and he actually, that lap didn't count, so not looking as good as it did during the Lotus 49 race earlier this morning where he took a victory. What about Jamie Hall as we watch Sintez Galindo come to the line? His lap going to be 32.8, which will be good enough for 12th place. Not too bad for him. Hall just coming around Ravazza for his second lap, and he'll just squeak through before we get to the checkered flag. Again, 7/10, nearly 7/10 that he has to make up to try and take the pole away from Fabian Gerber. He had some help with a little bit of luck on his side last time, and he's quicker, but it's only going to close it in to 0.2 of a second. So Gerber holds onto that top spot.
That makes me excited for the competitiveness of both fields, though, considering we have such tight qualifying between the top three in both of the fields. I mean, Nicholas Makanos is only 7/1000ths of a second off of Alex Millward for that fourth and third positions, so that's going to be intense as well.
That means our grid is set. Let's go through our starting order for today. Fabian Gerber on the pole, followed by last week's winner, Jamie Hall and Alex Millward. He could throw a monkey wrench into things as he'll start from third and typically is fast. Nick Mukanos will be starting P4 and Nick Schneider will be in P5. Traingrade, good enough for 6. Can he improve from there? Stephen Warkup will start in 7th today. Laust Olsen dropping pace a little bit compared to what we've seen recently. He'll start P8, and Fabian Jungluth starts in 9th. Then it's Pablo Suarez rounding out your top 10. The next row has Martin Krejcik to the inside, with Heitor Sintez Galindo to his outside in 12th. Branislav Robanek starts 13th. Guillaume de Otero, Guy Otero, as we've been informed is his nickname, starts 14th, and Dougie Cloud starts in 15th. And you've got Ryan Lang with a bit of a slower lap. He'll start at the back of that field. Olenek and Fuller did not put laps in and will be slotted in behind all the other prototypes.
Hugo Lesclos going to start on pole for the Audis with Michael Houghton lining up alongside him. Phil Lake's going to start off in that third position with Reed Miller in 4th. Daniel Sadro starting off in 5th position today. Ben Lafter's going to start off 6th with Roman Pavlowski in 7th. Richard Spitzmaller going to start off in 8th position with Devin Donahue starting off in 9th. Maxime de Thomason's going to round out your top 10 with Tom Moiti starting off in the 11th spot, Brian Williams in 12th, and then we have the drivers who did not set qualifying times. Franco Scurry, Pablo Rangel, Michael Haynes, and Vern Klukas, your 16 drivers who are starting in the Audis, and your 34 drivers that are starting on the grid today.
Waiting for the pace car to lead them away. Don't have a full pace lap here, so it'll be short. So you see them lined up. There goes the Porsche pace car. 40 minutes doesn't sound like a long race, Adam, but I suspect not only are they going to be clogged up with traffic, but I feel like it's going to happen very fast.
It is going to happen very fast. It happens in about 3 or 4 laps around here. And also the Audi leaders are definitely going to be wanting this race to be over quickly because that long front straight is a perfect drafting zone and can cause a lot of problems with defending into turn 1. But expect a little bit of chaos into turn 1 today in both classes, as we have a lot of drivers that are new to the series, and turn 1 at Imola can always be a real challenge.
Trying to get back up to our leaders as we had a little bit of a fall away from one of our drivers. I think that was Traingrade who had to pull himself up quickly, but they're holding it for a long time. Gerber now finally goes as the green flag waves here at Imola for round 2 of the Kamel GT Series. Jamie Hall with a good start already into second as Alex Millward able to cover off from those behind him. A little bit of a drop back from Mukanos. He's under attack from Nick Schneider down into Tamburello, but the top 5 are going to make it through clean. A little bit tight in the back of the prototypes, but otherwise good. Let's go to the GTOs.
Great launch from Yuko Leskola as Michael Houghton is able to maintain that second position over Phil Lake. Reed Miller slotting into the 4th position with Ben Laughter currently battling with Daniel Sadro for 5th. He's actually going to make that pass around the outside. A great start for the Audis, pretty clean for everybody involved.
Moite seems to have had problems as he was off course. Donaghy also very slow. Not sure what happened. Maybe he missed a shift. Meanwhile, back up to our prototypes. Hall is keeping touch with Gerber. They plunge back downhill into Aqua Minerale, and they're pulling a gap on Alex Millward back in 3rd.
It was awesome to see that late start from Fabian Gerber. That's similar to what we saw go on at the last F1 race where he waited until the line, and that's because of just how long that front straightaway is. He wanted to make sure to make that the draft did not give Jamie Hall such an advantage going into Tamburello, and he was able to do that successfully.
And we had one car go completely through. That was Robinek. It looks like he's just going to get a cut course penalty as we're staying on the leaders, and Jamie Hall is really putting the pressure on. Here's that slipstream you were talking about, something about Italian tracks and these long front straightaways. Behind them, you can see Alex Millward a little bit off, and he's falling down the order, but Hall continuing to close in, but it's not enough straightaway as they reach the braking zone now for Tamburello, and he'll have to try again another day.
Yeah, it was that cut course penalty that cost Alex Millward so much time. He had to back off and let guys by. But once we go back down to the Audis, we're seeing the draft affect Michael Houghton. I would not expect Michael to pounce here on Yuko. I honestly believe that being tucked in behind a guy is actually going to be your best chance at getting good pace right now. Phil Lake falling off from them a little bit, but he's pretty consistent on tire wear and pace. I think he's gauging himself for later on in this race, as tires are a big deal.
We come back to our leaders in the prototypes. It's only 0.3 of a second between Hall and Gerber. Mukanos, who now inherits 3rd place, a whole 2.5 seconds back from them. Let's keep the cameras here, but I feel like in the past we've seen that from Lake, where he just decides to kind of take it easy on the start of the race and conserve those tires.
Yeah, he definitely tries to conserve the tires because especially around here, the tires are really bad for the Audis. The front tires wear quite quickly, and they are putting all the pressure on the back tires with the 4-wheel drive system, and that can make them wear even faster. And so by the end of the race, these guys have no grip if they're pushing 100% the whole time.
Gerber gets himself a little bit of breathing space, but look at closing in under braking. It seems like Jamie Hall maybe has a car better set up on those corner entries as he gains a lot of time. So he's a little closer this time down the front stretch. Once again, up towards Tamburello. Is this going to be close enough to attack, or does he continue to sit patiently behind? He's got it down to 2 car lengths, almost down to 1, and finally they hit the brakes once again. So he's going to have to be even closer if he hopes to attack.
Jamie Hall setting the fastest lap there in the draft of Fabian Gerber. Fabian definitely has a car that's designed to lead right now, which means that if Jamie can get by him, it actually might upset Fabian Gerber's downforce just enough to keep him behind. So Jamie Hall might be sizing up Fabian Gerber this entire race if he can stick on his rear bumper. Looks like Douglas Cloud has had an issue. I'll take a look at that in a moment.
I think that was into Villeneuve. No, it was into Tamburello. He just went wide and was off into the grass. Let's take a glance once again at our GTO leaders. Phil Lake is actually not too far back from Houghton at this point. In fact, he is closed in significantly. You can see he is right underneath the rear bumper of that car. They're coming up to a few of the slower prototypes, interestingly. Hopefully this doesn't cause them any sort of problems trying to get through there.
Well, the trouble is that one of the prototypes actually qualified within the times of the Audis, so if he's falling back on raw pace, that's going to be trouble for these guys because the GTP is going to feel entitled to that track space, whereas the Audis may be faster than him. So Phil Lake's been really impressive on this lap. He's dropped Reed Miller by 2 seconds already and is right on the back of Michael Houghton. Things could get intense here.
Phil has really become one of the dominating forces since some of our resident Finns have kind of left the scene here in recent seasons. Lake taking it with both hands. Have to give credit to Michael Houghton too, who has shown himself to be of great improvement over recent seasons and is now consistently fighting up towards the front could be looking at a victory today depending on how the cards fall. Let's see if he's going to get caught down the front stretch as Phil Lake is going to get a nice little draft. They come past the start-finish line. You can see how the front straight weaves back and forth, making it hard to predict which way to go. And he's going to defend a little bit of a bump as they hit the braking zone into Tamburello, but I think they're both going to make it through.
That was some exciting stuff between the two teammates there. Phil was hoping to get that outside line, but ended up on the grass a little bit. He couldn't brake until he was all four wheels back onto the pavement, and then finally managed to brake. Ended up giving Michael a little bit of a bump, but it wasn't too bad. We're going to jump to P5 of the GTP because Lars Olsen is under some heavy pressure with Stephen Workup and Alex Miller.
Workup looking around the outside, coming into Alta. There's just no space through that tight little chicane. So he falls behind once again. Millward on his recovery drive all over the back of Workup. Workup starts out defensive, then comes back to the racing line, down into Ravazza. All he needs is a good exit here, and Millward could find himself up one, maybe two places.
Yeah, keeping my eyes on this battle and the battle for the lead. Looks like the lead is not going to change hands this time around on the front straightaway. As these guys go down. Actually,
no, the lead is side by side, yeah. And they almost come together. Managed to get down to the apex of the second apex just before Fabian Gerber, but he fends him off. Let's see if this heats up once again. It looks like they're going to stay where they are. We've got time to go look at this one more time. Let's pull up the replay on this pass attempt. Hall starting to get aggressive now.
Yeah, Jamie has been putting the pressure really on Fabian. You see him here go around the outside of the corner, and he's going to maintain that speed using that downforce to try and go through the corner, but then he has to back it off so he doesn't make contact with Fabian at the apex of the second part of the chicane. But man, this is good battling between these two drivers up front.
Lap 4, and they're already at the traffic. You can see how much it holds them up too. That is Moite, who is unfortunately in the wrong place at the wrong time. Hall gets a little bit of a run, but can't do anything with it as they come up to Alta. They got a little space before they get to Klukas, who is the next of the GTOs, slightly wide for Jamie Hall, and that costs him a tenth or two.
We had a development in the battle for the 6th and 7th positions. Actually, Stephen Workup and Alex Miller were making door-to-door contact. Actually, it's Stephen Workup and Fabian Jungbluth as they went through. That's going to bottle everybody up here for that 6th position. This brings... oh my goodness, everything very intense between all those drivers. Very intense 2x2 as they go back onto the front stretch.
Wow. And that was indeed Millward actually that got into it with Workup. Contact between the two of them. Jungbluth takes advantage of it. How much damage is on either of those prototypes? Still to the inside. Workup might be able to fight back once they hit the braking zone. He's got slightly more speed. Behind him, Alex Millward giving watch, trying to pick which way to go. And even though he had the inside, Workup not able to do anything. Jungbluth up to P6. Nice job taking advantage.
Yeah, very good job taking advantage of that, but now they're catching up to Tom Moite, which is going to be very interesting to see how they handle that as well. The lead did not switch hands on that straightaway, so we didn't miss anything up there for those drivers. The battle for first, second, and third in the Audis is still separated by a couple of tenths. But it looks like Phil Lake's going to make a move here on Michael Houghton into the inside for second place in the Audi GTOs here. And Phil Lake is going to be able to get that job done. Michael Houghton going to let him through as they pass the slide line car of Douglas Cloud.
Doesn't surprise me that Houghton just decided to not fight too hard. I think he knows that there's plenty of racing left to go. He could try and get him back a little bit later. Plus, it seems like Houghton may be falling slightly off of Leskala. Wonder if he's going to try and ride the coattails of Lake up to the back of him.
I mean, that's definitely the anticipation here. So I would expect them to do so. I mean, Yuko's getting away by a second there. So fortunately, Michael Houghton's going to be able to chase Phil Lake down and try and drag him up to the lead.
We got to go to the leaders. We got to go to the leaders because Jamie Hall has a fantastic run. He's going to try around the outside once again, given just enough space on the entry into the corner. This time, though, he backs out before they get to the second apex. Jamie Hall sizing him up as they come up to the second chicane, Villeneuve. He takes a little bit of a peek, but that's not typically a passing spot.
Oh, Fabian's a little bit bad on the exit of this corner. Jamie Hall's going to try and dive it down the inside of the hairpin. He can't quite get the job done, can't quite get the nose in. Fabian Gerber's going to have a better exit, but Jamie Hall's still right on his rear bumper. He might try a move here into the next chicane.
He may not have gotten the pole, but he's showing he's got great race pace down into Piratella. He gets to the apex first, but once again, Gerber showing a fantastic defense to keep the UK&I driver behind.
Gerber doing a great job, but how much of his tires is he burning up? He's already used up quite a bit of his stuff. I've seen him running over some curves pretty heavily. How much is that affecting his straight line speed because of undercarriage damage? And now they've got Michael Haynes and Pablo Rangel that they're going to catch up to try and pass these lapped Audis, and that might affect this battle as well.
Jamie Hall is on the go. He's decided now is the time to try and attack. They're both going to be held up, trying to take to the inside of Haynes. He's going to stay out of their way. This definitely hurt Hall more than it did Gerber.
Yeah, and so as Hall is coming down the back straightaway, the front straightaway rather, he's going to be trying to close that gap as much as he possibly can, but I don't think he's quite close enough to get the job done unless Fabian now breaks himself into turn 1 here. Into Tamburello they go, and it looks like Fabian's going to maintain that position, but now they got Pablo Rangel they're going to be trying to pass, and that's going to be the braking zone for the next chicane.
In front of them, Rangel stays off to the right, compromises them into Villeneuve, but not too much of a drama into that chicane. Now onto the back half of the course, which is a lot twistier than the front half. As they climb up the hill, they're going to catch up to Brian Williams probably this lap. You can see a flash of him across the screen, but it might be a few more corners.
Things are getting very intense for these GTP drivers, but we do want to jump to the GTO lead because Phil Lake is right on the back of Yuko Leskola, and they're coming onto the front stretch now. There's a bad exit for Leskola, which is going to give an opportunity for Phil Lake going into turn 1 if he wants to take it.
And look how easily they've dropped Michael Houghton. He is nowhere to be seen. Which way is Leskola going to defend? To the inside, going to force him the long way around. Early braking from Phil Lake. There is that sneaky little intellect inside of Phil Lake's head. I think he is thinking 12 steps ahead of everybody else. And indeed, look at the exit off the first chicane. Gives him a shot down into Villeneuve, but once again, he backs out.
Wow, and as this battle is going on, the battle for, oh my good, here comes Phil Lake around the outside of the hairpin of the 180-degree corner. It's going to be a little bit sketchy there. He was not able to keep the traction down there. That's going to mean he's going to have to back off here and let Yuko lead into the technical section.
Amazes me how he is attacking. Here is a big slide, though, from Lake coming through Piratella. Compromises him. But usually you see drivers try and go late on the brakes into corners. Phil Lake, every single time, trying to set him off the corners. This is fantastic stuff from the number 1 car.
Yeah, setting them up off the corner is absolutely the best way to do it in the Audi because of the way that the 4-wheel drive works. That's where you get your most grip. That's where you can get your best advantage on the driver ahead of you.
And keep an eye on both battles for the lead. And in fact, we've hopped over here to Jamie Hall once again, trying to keep with Gerber. We ride on board with him down through Acromeno Raleigh. Takes it in a little bit deep, and Gerber starts to stretch away. We got to go back to our GTO battle because they are now on the front stretch. And once again, Lake with a good run. This time better, though. He is going to be fully alongside. He might even be even. Nope, he's going to brake early once more.
Yeah, it's not worth taking the risk of sending Yuko offline there because if they slow themselves up too much or cause an incident between the two of them, Yuko's known for a staunch defense. Phil's going to try the inside to this next corner.
He got blocked at the apex, though. I shouldn't say blocked, really. It's just Leskola placed his car perfectly and kept him from timing the run. And all this battling has now brought Houghton back into the mix. Should note that they are way ahead of Ben Lafter, who is in 4th. So the podium drivers have basically made it a 3-horse race.
Absolutely, and now Michael Houghton's closing up onto the back of Phil Lake. I would expect him probably not to pass Phil unless Phil starts dropping pace significantly to Yuko. I mean, I know he wants to get by, but the battle really needs to be to try and pass Yuko right now because Yuko, his defense is very staunch right now. The lead in the GTPs has actually separated quite a bit because of traffic. Fabian Gerber right now, I mean, quite a bit, I say that, but it's still under a second. 7-8 tenths ahead of Jamie Hall.
Through the Alta chicane. Everybody taking as much track as they can. It is, remember, there are penalties here if they have too many off-track incidents. They will be given a drive-through at first, and then if they get up to 25 incidents, they will actually be disqualified, which means the car will be immediately removed from the track by the sim. There's no chance to try and contest that. Back onto the front stretch, Lake falling off of Leskala now, and Houghton gets a second shot.
The question is what is Houghton going to do with it? Is he just going to back off here a little bit? It looks like he does just a tiny bit. He's going to give Phil Lake an opportunity to cool those tires down and re-challenge Yuko.
Let's head back to Reed Miller behind them. I think he's got a good chance at trying to overtake Ben Laughter.
Oh. He backed out of that.
He did indeed. Not sure why, as he had a monster run.
Well, he's got Daniel Sadro for company who's coming up behind them as well. This is going to make this battle for fourth place a three-way fight.
Do we already have someone falling afoul of the incident limits? Because Laust Olsen is into pit lane, and there's no scheduled pit stops today.
You know, this was contact with Maximilian de Thomason, unfortunately, and it damaged Laust's right rear suspension, so he's into the pits to try and get that repaired.
That is a shame this early on in the race. Look at how close Reed Miller is underneath the rear wing of Ben Laughter, making sure that he feels that pressure down through Aqua Minerale as they have to get the cars woed up around the curved braking zone, back up the hill, and really swinging the car through there. Reed is trying everything. In fact, he's going to try to send it in deep. Is it too deep? Yes, it is. He's going to have to cut the course through Alta.
Wow, that was an intense moment there between Reed Miller and the other drivers of Ben Laughter and Daniel Sadro. He sent it in so deep into that corner and had to cut the course, but now he's stuck behind Daniel Sadro as well, so he lost a position. And here come our leaders in the GTPs right in behind this battle, Fabian Gerber and Jamie Hall, who's caught up to the back of him.
And this will be a perfect example of what you were talking about the top speed of each of these cars. Are they going to catch them in time? They're picking it up now. They'll get past Miller. I don't know if they'll get the other two, though.
I don't believe they will before the braking zone, and that's going to make things very complicated for Fabian Gerber. Wow, Fabian's going to dive it very deep and try and take away that apex from Daniel Sadro. This is going to separate this battle. Now they've got Douglas Cloud on the track, slow in front of them. They have to dodge as well. Then they've got to pass Vern Klukas and Ben Laughter as well. Unbelievable stuff from these guys up front.
Yeah, so there's lap traffic on different laps here in the GTO, so everybody's trying to swing by Vern Klukas. Thankfully, he pulls it out of the way just in time. Ben Laughter, unfortunately, couldn't get out of the way of Jamie Hall, who loses a few more tenths to Fabian Gerber, our prototype leader.
And while this is going on, the lead battle in the GTOs is starting to close in again. Phil Lake has gotten those tires under control and is closing in on Yuko Leskala. Tom Moetti is going to pull over to the right side of the road, but not quite enough. He's almost going to take away the apex from Phil Lake. He's going to have to pull almost off track to let Michael Houghton by. That was close.
Whew. There was nothing between Houghton and Tom there, but everybody got out the other side, so I guess any landing you can walk away from. Meanwhile, up at the front, now that Houghton has been held up, Lake is, oh my goodness, look at this craziness happening in the prototypes, though.
Yeah, this is between Nick Wakanos, Nick Snyder, and Fabian Jungbluth. Nick Snyder and Nick Wakanos. They're very tight in together, and then they've got Douglas Cloud and Ryan Lang tucked in behind them, who are a lap down of these guys. This is the battle for third place, and then the battle for 16th place, both on screen. Plus, they're going past Reed Miller, Daniel Sadro, and Ben Laughter, who are still battling for fourth.
Mukanos gets by one. Looks like Schneider's going to join him past Miller. Last time we saw them break deep, and Mukanos is going to take a page off of Fabian Gerber's book, get through. So will Schneider. This has been a horrible run for Sadro. He lost all that time back to Reed Miller. Thankfully for Daniel, though, Reed has no way to try and get by here.
And this is exactly what I was talking about with the Audis. They do not want to let the GTPs by if they can do anything about it, because they lose so much time in their battles.
Certainly has been causing the havoc that we anticipated. Miller, though, with a decent run off of Tosa. It is a steep climb up this hill, and eventually decides to back out of it. Laying behind him is waiting very patiently, a little wide from Daniel Sadro coming off of Piratella. He defends to the inside. Douglas Cloud.
Whoa!
Oh, and that is Lang going way off course. Thankfully, he didn't hit anybody or anything, so he's able to keep going. But I think he gave a few of those drivers a heart attack. Especially Sadro and Miller here.
Yeah, I think he just caught a rear brake lock up there going into the corner. And actually, when we come back live, we need to go back to first place of the GTOs because Phil's trying to challenge Yuko around the outside once again. Yuko actually gets the braking a little bit wrong for that first corner. Phil Lake's going to get a great launch this time. Is he actually going to stick it up the inside this time around?
Would be a brave man who tries it into Villeneuve, and Lake's not brave enough yet. Oh, and here comes our leaders. This is Fabian Gerber and Jamie Hall. So the two worlds collide, looking up the outside once more, and Phil Lake is trying everything everywhere to see if he can get this overtake done. Overtake finished. We got Fabian Gerber now going to swing through, but Hall gets clogged up.
And look at that, Yuko Leskola braked early, and that sent Phil Lake off course as well. So Jamie Hall now goes into the next corner, is able to get by these guys, but Phil Lake lost some time there to Yuko because of that unfortunate miscalculation.
Just frantic stuff here amongst both of our leaders. The lead has not been more than a second apart, I'd say, the whole race between both classes. Though it's gotten a little bit bigger up in the prototypes. It stayed the same down here in the GTOs. It's still about 0.5 of a second. This is where it's going to be critical for Yuko. Off of the final corner, off of Ravazza, and he does a great job getting the power down. I don't think Lake's going to be quite close enough.
And see, this is just it, Joe. The only passes we've seen on track so far this race have been due to mistakes from the driver ahead. That's how hard it is to pass. I mean, Fabian Gerber started this race in first, still in first over Jamie Hall. Yuko started it in first over Michael Houghton. Phil was able to pass Michael because of a mistake, and now Phil is in second to Yuko Leskola, who's still maintaining that lead, even with very hard attacks from Phil Lake.
Now, I want to give a little bit of a shout out to Rob Olenek. Remember, he failed to qualify, and he's up to P8, so this has been a great run from the number 3 car, taking advantage of what he can to try and make up for a bad situation. You can see he's dealing with traffic right now. That's Daniel Sadro in front of him.
Yeah, Rob Olenek doing a great job jumping over to the GTP this season along with Jamie Hall. Those two dirty torque drivers taking the chance to hop over to the prototype. And they're doing a great job this season, especially Jamie up there battling for the first position. But Rob Olenek is no slouch either down there in 8th right now.
A lot of love to 3rd place in prototypes, and Mukanos and Schneider have gotten incredibly close. Now, they were balked up behind Houghton for a couple corners there. They've finally gotten by, but it's going to get all the harder now that they're coming up to the battling GTO leaders.
Yeah, and we've seen that Yuko and Phil do not really give way to these GTPs at all, especially not onto the front straight here. Nicholas Mukanos is going to have to give an opportunity. He's going to have to wait for these guys to go, and he does. Nicholas Schneider now has a good opportunity. They can't get the power down off the corner. Nicholas Mukanos using the draft of the Audis ahead, and look at this. Yuko Leskola moving over to the left to try and break the draft to Phil Lake. Wow, Nicholas Mukanos going to duck in between the two of them. This is going to make things very tight when they go into Tamburello, and it's the better braking for the GTPs. Yuko's offline, though. This might give an opportunity to Phil Lake.
What he's been waiting for, it's going to give him the inside of the apex. He does get there, but Leskola carries his speed well, and once again, Lake is rebuffed.
I don't know what he's going to have to do to get past Yuko. I mean, Yuko's defense is so strong. He's going to have to hope for a mistake, or he's going to have to force one up the inside one of these times.
I would to say it might get a little bit rough if he wants to try and make the pass stick. It unfortunately had a little bit of net code last time, so hopefully we won't see that again if it does come to blows between them. These cars can make contact. It's just a big risk if you do. As they come down into Aqua Minerale, they've got more traffic coming up. Jungbluth and Alex Millward, and Millward is in a hurry. He hasn't made up many spots from when he had his early mistake. I have a feeling that the red mist is down for that number 4 car.
Absolutely, and Michael Houghton's stuck in a sea of GTPs right now. They're all tucked in all over him. Fabian Unluth trying to make it by, but this battle for the lead of the GTO is still intense, and there you see the swarm of GTPs trying to make it past the third-place driver of Michael Houghton in the background.
Yeah, we didn't see it on screen, but I was reacting to Houghton nearly getting into the back of Unluth coming out of Alta. Ooh, this is a very good run from Lake. What has Lake got here as they come up towards the first corner, towards Tamburello? Is Unluth going to try and interrupt them, or is he going to wait patiently behind? He's in a battle with Millward, mind you. He's got his own race to run. He can't quite get there in time.
I mean, all of this battling is intense. We've got it all over the track from every position. Look at this three-car battle for the GTPs that are trying to take place. Oh no, Yuko pushed way offline. This is a great opportunity for Phil Lake, who might get the outside for the next section.
Best chance he's had, but he doesn't have the desired line. The long way around of Tosa is a difficult ask. Just ask Juan Pablo Montoya, but it looks like he's given space. So is Millward, or is Les able to fend him off into Piratella, where the battle continues as Stephen Warcup is now plugged up behind them with no place to go. He thinks about 3 wide. That doesn't work. Down into Aqua Minerale, where off goes Lescala. Finally has to be shoved off course, and Warcup, he is unfortunately just in the midst of everything when he doesn't want to be.
Warcup's going to be cursing these guys, but I mean, that was the best opportunity Phil had all race. He had to take that opportunity. He had to take the inside of that corner, and Warcup he's lost 6 seconds to Millward in that battle.
Is the nature of Kamel GT here at Imola. He finally is going to be able to get by. Oh, and it comes right back through. Lake is in no mind to try and give him any sort of leeway. In fact, this hurt Phil Lake coming off the exit of Ravazza, and Lescala might get his revenge. Can he come back at him? I said the elbows would need to come out, and here we go. They bumped once already, and Lescala got shoved off course. He's going to have to go around the outside once again. Can he go deep on the brakes into Tamburello? He tries to. They'll hold side by side, but he's now on the other end of that fight and finds exactly the frustration that Lake did all race long.
I mean, the battle between these two drivers has been intense, and now Michael Houghton, because of how much they've been doing side by side, is back caught up to them. Remember, Michael passed Yuko on what was an unfortunate incident at our last race to take the win. This is going to make things intense for Yuko, because he's now going to have to worry about holding off Michael Houghton, who was faster than him last race. It's going to be in the back of his mind right now.
Certainly would be hoping to be picking up the pieces. Houghton knows that a win is a win. So Phil Lake, for the first time, is able to be our leader in the GTO class at this race. Can he stretch away? He's had the pace to run them down and really challenge, but getting up and passing is one thing. To be able to pull away is a whole nother.
Yeah, and that being said, there's the slow car of Vern Klukas, who pulls over to the side of the road to let these guys by, but Michael Houghton just doesn't seem to have the pace this race. It's almost like he's not being able to turn in quite as effectively as he wants to. Yuko Lescala trying to get the best opportunity on the launch off of the final sector for Phil Lake. Phil takes it off track to make sure that Yuko can't get the effective launch onto the front straight, but Yuko's still very close.
Let's keep the cameras here, but just an update. Jamie Hall has fallen back from Gerber by about half a second, so he is not in it currently. And they've got some lap traffic coming through. That's Suarez, who's trying to pick his way by very carefully.
I can tell you that both the Audis and the Nissans are cursing each other out right now, frustrated with how much each other is holding the other one up. And both of them are just trying to make their own races work. Yuko getting held up now behind Pablo Suarez. He's going to lose about half a second to Phil Lake on the exit of that corner. And actually, Fabian Gerber and Jamie Hall has tightened up quite a bit now. Jamie closed that gap back up to Fabian, and he's right on his rear bumper.
Is where he wants to be close to. If he gets the shot out of Ravazza, he could have another chance. We saw it took a little bit of bumping and running over in the GTOs. What about the prototypes? Does Jamie Hall dare to get a little bit rough with a multi-time champion? I don't think we've seen Jamie Hall this competitive with Gerber at any point in previous seasons. He has picked it up, and he is on the pace from the word go. He's won the first round, and he is trying hard to win the next one. Gerber is going to get stopped up underneath the number 30 GTO. Oh, and they're going to go 3 wide as he almost gets shoved off course. There's no room to the inside there, and Jamie Hall finds himself roughed off the track.
I don't know about that one, Fabian. There was room for all 3 of you guys on track, and he just moved over to the left, pushing Jamie off track. Jamie stayed in it, though, and he's going to stay right in, tucked in behind Fabian.
Up next, in front of them, Devin's going to hold to the right side. Both of them sending it really deep into Piratella. Hall has got the bit between his teeth. He really doesn't care to sit around. The number 6 is trying to go back-to-back on victories, and the opening races of the season almost slides it through the corner. And we've got a problem with Alex Millward, who is off in Tosa. Oh, he got some help, it looks like, from Tom. Moite and the number 30 just unfortunately tipped him off.
Yeah, so as Millward tries to recover, all of these lead battles continue to stay close, but Jamie Hall and Fabian Gerber will be the closest for sure. There's the replay you see right now of Alex Millward getting spun off the nose of Tom. Tom was all the way on the right side of the track, though. I think Alex just misjudged the exit on his exiting speed. So, but we have to go back to the lead for the GTPs because Jamie Hall has his best opportunity yet on Fabian Gerber. He's going to look around the outside. He's going to try and outbrake him into Tamburello. How's this going to play out? Fabian's going to dive it down deep and take away the apex of both corners. Jamie's going to have to back out of it.
Going that one late, but it just seemed like Hall had much more speed in a straight line that time. I wonder if Gerber's got a little bit of damage and maybe his straight line speed has been compromised. Oh, a good switch over potentially from Jamie Hall as they come upon traffic. Swings back to the racing line. Gerber is taking it to a game of inches. He is leaving absolutely nothing for Jamie Hall to take advantage of here.
At this point, if one of those ends up with Fabian Gerber spinning off the nose of Jamie, I don't think Jamie's going to feel sorry about it. Fabian is being very aggressive with his defense, and that means that Jamie's going to take any opportunity he possibly can to try and get the move done.
There's no love lost, or if these two are enjoying this, it's certainly one of the fiercest battles for the lead we've seen in a while. As they come up into Alta, he's right underneath them, just keeping their nose glued to the gearbox.
Unfortunately, not keeping that nose glued to the track, as clipping that inside curb means that Jamie Hall loses about half a second. But look at how strong he is under braking on these downhill sections. Fabian Gerber a lot more conservative. Jamie Hall is going to get a good launch off of this corner. I think he's too far back to make a pass, and with the extra draft from Vern Klukas for Fabian, I don't think he's going to have an opportunity into one.
Didn't seem like it. Both of them taking as much slipstream as they can off of that GTO. Just dutifully staying off to the side for them and keeping consistent. Once again, under braking, Jamie Hall showing the strength of that green and silver dirty torque car and gaining all that ground right back.
Yeah, and I think that Jamie truly has the pace on Fabian Gerber this race as far as the raw pace is concerned around the track. But he's going to have to find a way by, and it's so hard around this track, and it might even, like you said, it might require some contact. But that being said, the GTPs are so aero sensitive, a little bit of contact could ruin that pace advantage that he has.
Well, they've got 12 seconds on Nick Mucanos. Considering there's 6.5 minutes left, I think they can afford to get a little bit rough with one another. As long as it stays on track, as long as they keep pointed forward, but they might not need the contact because traffic as well. We have to remember, Kamel GT Series with its multi-class nature opens doors when you least expect it. Hall trying to poke through that door down into Alta, but decides better of it. Still, he'll get another shot. They're coming up to Ravazza, and he is right back with him again.
One place where Jamie Hall is struggling. Oh, he's going to try and go around the outside here. Wow. He's going to almost get this job done. Fabian's going to, a little bit of contact between them. Just a bit, but oh my goodness, Jamie sticks it out.
How did he do that? How did he go around the outside of Ravazza to take the lead? That is incredible. Jamie Hall is your new leader with an incredibly forceful move, but entirely fair. I don't think I've ever seen someone make that pass for a victory in this at this track. That is just nuts. As they now go through more traffic, it could still go back to them as Tom stays out of the way.
Oh no!
Oh, and what's this with our leaders in GTO?
Phil Lake off track. He's going to lose the position to Michael Houghton as well. He got a little bit loose in braking down into the corner. I'm going to have to take a look at that one more time.
Slots him back to third. I just looked over in time. I was so beside myself from that pass for the lead. I didn't realize, as we're looking at Houghton, there's the attempted pass. Lake trying to go side by side with Leskala, or vice versa.
He just gets off track. There was fair racing between the two of them.
Well, this is good news for Yuko, because he pulls the gap of about 1.1 seconds over Houghton. That's exactly what he needs. It's going to take a bit for those two to get back up behind him. They'll have to hope for traffic or just working together. I don't know if we're in any mood to try and work together with Houghton. I think he's going to want to try and get back to that second place as quick as he can.
Oftentimes, Imola can be a train race, but these drivers have shown some amazing pace around here and some amazing aggressiveness, but also fair play. Everybody playing fair on this track, making some fantastic moves. I think we're going to see some frustrated drivers, but also some very satisfied drivers at the end of this. Phil Lake off track once again. He's going to have to be careful. He's been off track quite a few times this race. If he gets a foul of that incident limit, this could be even worse than the third place for him. And yet again, the lead for the GTPs is contested once again. It looks like, oh my goodness, Fabian Gerber making a pass around the outside of Tamburello.
Good come back. Here comes Jamie Hall. He's going to stick his nose in up into Villeneuve. And I think that is Sadro up in front of them. He's going to get stopped up. And Hall can't do anything with it. Oh, but he lacks traction. Fabian Gerber can't manage to get it going. They're going to actually come together. All three of them make contact, and that sends Jamie Hall off into the gravel. He gets back onto the track, but he loses all kinds of time to Fabian Gerber.
That was an extremely optimistic move from Fabian Gerber to try and make it 3 wide into the braking zone for the hairpin. I mean, I don't know about that one.
I think he had no choice. He had to try and go for it. I give him credit. He's got some damage, it looks like, on the rear wing from that. But if I was in Fabian's shoes, I think I would have done the same thing. Wow. So 3 minutes left. Do we finally have a bit of a breather here? I think we've got Houghton and Lake close enough that we might have to cover this battle for second. And Lake's not going to go for it this time through. Is he staying patient? No, he's trying to get the shot off of Tamburello. It doesn't quite work, though.
Yeah, Phil Lake is desperate to get past Houghton because he wants another shot at Yuko. He knows he can close up to the back of him, but once again, passing around here is so difficult. He's trying to get the opportunities off of the corners, and Michael Houghton holding strong through the corners. It's going to be a tough ask, especially in the last 2.5 minutes of this race.
Closest battle at this point, as Houghton may not have a victory on the cards, at least from what it looks like here, but he could at least retain second place if he can hold back Phil Lake. But Dirty Torque drivers know that no one is willing to give way. If there's an opportunity, they're going to take it. Oh, wow, he's taking a lot of curb, and I think that hurt Lake.
Definitely sent him up in the air and lost some traction. He's lost a lot of time now to Houghton. Houghton is actually closing into the back of Leskala, so this battle for the lead is definitely not over. They're going to be closing in on possibly 1 to go, I believe.
Oh, Gerber's been caught by Hall. Gerber got held up by traffic. It's on again. Just when you think it's over, and Jamie Hall's got a second shot at life, a third shot. I don't know how many times he's been going at it at this point. As they come up to Alta, it is going to be white flag for these two this time.
I do not want to imagine what's about to happen between these two drivers on the final lap, especially with the fact that Jamie Hall almost definitely has a speed advantage, a pace advantage on Fabian when it comes to the straightaways with that rear wing damage that Fabian's carrying.
How much is that damage hurting Gerber? Is he going to be a sitting duck? We have been watching, so we don't know how much top end he's lost, if it's hurting him at all. Doesn't look like it's too bad here. They start to pick up speed all the way to top end. He is gaining very quickly. Hall's going to have to send it. It's going to be very tough from here on out, and he can't get side by side.
But is it over? Is it over? Jamie's trying to get a better exit off the corner. He's going to send it up the inside here. He has to try and do something. He's going to have to outbrake Fabian Gerber into this next corner. Fabian outbrakes him. Oh my goodness, Jamie over the curbs on the inside. He can't get the traction down.
Ooh. This is it. Last few corners, they'll have opportunities. Do they have any traffic in front of them? No. They're not going to catch anybody, I don't think, before this lap is over. So it's down to a one-on-one fight here on the front lap after 40 minutes. Fabian Gerber holding just a car length over Jamie Hall. His last two opportunities are going to be into Alta and into Ravazza. He's done it once around the outside of Ravazza. Oh, but he slides coming out of Acqua Minerale. The tires have given up for Jamie Hall as he slips and slides around. Gerber just has to keep it smooth here to the finish. Oh, but he's slow through Alta. Once again, sitting in it deep, too deep for Jamie Hall as he loses control once again. And Gerber is now free to take the victory as he comes down to Ravazza. What a defense. What an attack. Gerber has done everything he needs to do and shows why he's a multi-time champion in that number 2 machine. Gerber will take victory and find redemption of his own here at Imola.
But ladies and gentlemen, the race is not over yet for the first place in the GTOs. They have another lap to go. They've just passed through the first sector, and Phil Lake, unfortunately, being put offline by Guillermo del Toro, and he's going to just push him off. He's going to say, no, thank you. I'm taking this battle for the third place fight. Here we go. Yuko Leskola and Michael Houghton up after the hairpin.
I mean, fair play to Phil. I don't think Guy really needed to be in there at that point, so I kind of expected Phil to get a little rough there. But what about Michael Houghton? Half a lap to go. Can he make it back-to-back wins? Leskola just in front of him. I don't think we've seen Houghton in front at all during any time in this race. It has been between Leskola and Lake at the top spot, and he's strong off of Acqua Minerale. Michael might have a shot into Ravazza. He's too far back here at Alta. He needs to get a good run off the second apex. And look at the big slide from Phil Lake behind them. Absolutely sending the car through there, but it bites him and he falls backwards. It doesn't seem that it is close enough for Michael Houghton as Yuko Leskola takes it down through Ravazza off the corner. If he gets a good run off the corner, he is clear. It's a little close. I don't think Houghton's got enough of a slipstream. The finish line comes up kind of quickly here. And indeed, Yuko Leskola with the win here at Imola.
What a race. What a week on GSRC. Such fantastic racing today between all these drivers. The battles for the lead so intense, so brutal. I mean, wow.
Okay. Let's calm down here for a bit. Let's take a break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. Please stick around for those driver interviews because on screen you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. back to Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari. You know it's a good race when we're too busy talking even during the break about all that happened that we had to realize we got to come back and finish this broadcast. It was incredible racing out on the circuit, and Fabian Gerber, who came home in second last round, finds himself in the lead this time and takes the win back from Jamie Hall, who beat him back in Wisconsin. Nicholas Mukanos finishes in third, a relatively distant second, although he caught up a lot of time at the end with all the battling back and forth those two leaders had. Nick Schneider with a fourth place behind them, ahead of, how about this, we didn't really get to cover poor Fabian Jungbluth, who went from 9th to 5th out on track, and a bit of a calm race where everybody else was going crazy around him. Alex Millward was 6th today, having an early mistake costing him a potential podium. Stephen Warkup with a 7th was ahead of Rob Olenek, who couldn't get a qualifying time in, so he went from 17th to 8th. Pablo Suarez was 9th with Heitor Sintez Guindo, a nice top 10, and Martin Krejcik finishing where he started in 11th. Robanek, I don't think we even covered him all race long, finished 12th. Guy Otero in 13th, and after that you have drivers who had problems in the prototypes. Lang and Cloud were behind them.
Yuko Leskola took a hard-fought victory over Michael Houghton for the GTO win. Phil Lake falling behind after getting off track, coming through the downhill portion of the middle sector, unfortunately coming home in the 3rd position. Daniel Sadro comes home in the 4th spot after a hard-fought battle with a couple of drivers who ended up back for quite a bit further. We'll get to them shortly. Franco Scurry, very consistent today, ends up in 5th, with Roman Pawlowski improving his position up to 6th as well. Richard Spitzmaller, also being a consistent driver, gets 7th place, with Pablo Rangel and Brian Williams battling hard for 8th and 9th positions. Devin Donne finishing off in the 10th spot, with Ben Lafter in 11th. Reed Miller gets 12th today, unfortunately, after he had some contact with some drivers in the midfield. Then Michael Haynes coming home in the 13th position. Tom Moiety coming home in 14th. Fern Klukas 15th, and Maxime de Thompson unfortunately did not finish.
Our winner in the prototypes, ready to talk to us, Fabian Gerber, has joined us. Fabian, we're out of breath up here. I mean, do you have anything left in you after that fight?
No, nothing. I'm totally out of breath and exhausted. That was really tough. Extremely.
So you missed out on the win in Wisconsin. This probably feels like a little bit of redemption on that one. But you had to fight all race long to hold Jamie back. Did it seem like he just generally had better pace, or was there something setup-wise that was allowing him to be all over the back of you?
That's hard to say. I actually asked that to myself a lot of times, because yesterday I had him under control, so to speak, and this time he just stuck behind me and pressurized me all the time. It was really tough. I think he had more wing, so he could go the speeds on the straights, but had more in the turn. So as long he was in the draft, he was okay. And then with all the traffic I had, I always opened the hole to him, so he could slip in behind me, and never lost due to traffic. And I lost so much. And again, I had so much bad luck. I couldn't believe myself what happened.
Well, it gave us a lot of fun to call from up here and to watch. Talk about that incident towards the end of the race, going 3 wide into Tosa. I know we saw a little bit of discussion between yourself and Sadro, and even though you haven't had a chance to look super close yet, I mean, what's your take currently on that incident?
Well, I can only say currently what I experienced in the car, because I'm sure I have to watch the replay and take another look at it. But I just felt we were coming through, and I think he could have let us through, because there was no point for him in staying on the inside there. But it's easy to say from my point of view, because I was totally stressed out and just tried to stay in front. I actually could have made the turn easily, but then when my spotter said 3 wide, I knew this is not going to end well.
And fair play for saying, admitting that we're all stressed in the moment, that it's easy to be a little bit frustrated. But a fantastic win, awesome job, and hopefully we'll see more of this all season long.
I hope so too. Thank you very much. See you next week.
Gerber, our winner, up in the GTPs. Next up, second place in the GTOs. Adam has caught up with Michael Houghton.
Yeah, Michael, you sat in behind a very intense battle between Phil Lake and Yuko for quite a while, but then Phil, making his mistake, dropped him behind you. and you were definitely not in a mood to let him by, it seems like. Talk to me about that battle that you had with Phil throughout the race.
Man, I would say it had 3 stages. The initial first 5 or 10 laps where I was trying to keep the pace with them. They're freakishly fast. And then I knew that I needed to save tires. I raced in a split yesterday, and I was just suffering. My tires were suffering yesterday. So I decided to back off and stop sliding the car so much, and then come back in at the later part of the race when I know that the traffic is going to bring the leaders back to me, and then I gunned it.
Absolutely. And talk to me about that last lap. It just seemed like you didn't quite have the opportunities to make a pass on Yuko. It seemed very hard to pass around here today.
Yeah, the draft is not really working unless you're directly behind another car, and it's hard to pass here. You just have to wait for somebody to make a mistake, and unfortunately, Phil made a little mistake where I think he rubbed against Yuko, and I managed to capitalize on that.
And then talk to me about the traffic, because this seems to be one of those tracks where neither class wants the other class on track at all. So talk to me about how hard it was to deal with the traffic today.
This is one of those tracks where both classes have to really cooperate, or else things are not going to work out. You know, the track is very narrow, and you have some very, very tall bumps, especially the chicane, and you have to work with the other class to make things happen. And if you don't, and that's when accidents happen.
Well, Michael, congrats on holding off Phil, and congrats on a second place finish. I believe that's going to hold you on top of the points championship as we go into the next round. So we look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah, baby. Woo!
An excited Michael Houghton finishes in second place today on the GTO standings. Back to you.
Well, the drivers have just as much fun as we do with these things. But we're going to close out today, and boy, a big thank you to the Kamel Series for bringing us back for another season of coverage. We genuinely mean that. We love getting to call these races season in and season out. Also, if you're looking to take advantage of GSRC's over 1 million global monthly impressions, check out the link in the description below where you can find out how you can advertise your company here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts. We've listed them here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music, and you can see how you can get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or check out our social media, where our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram, GSRC_Ram. We've got a merchandise store, so if you like some swag, click on the link below. It's just gsrc.storenv.com. The next race, that'll be Snetterton, and one of the shorter versions, mind you, there, so it's going to be even more chaos. It'll be Saturday, October 3rd at 1 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Coming up in just a few moments, we've got the Jetta Masters up here soon, heading to a dirt track, Dirt at Lanier, so that'll be interesting. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.